overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration. Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C.
D.C. Democrats beg for help as border states bus migrants to Biden's backyard. By Anna Giaratelli, Washington Examiner. Austin, Texas, more than 150 buses traveling from Arizona and Texas have transported nearly 6,000 migrants to the nation's capital over the past 3 months, and Democrats in Washington are complaining that they cannot accommodate the mass releases. The operation has collectively cost both border states millions of taxpayer dollars, including $6.8 million in Texas to date. But Republican Governor Greg Abbott, who initiated the operation in mid-April, said the move is having the desired results, getting Washington politicians a little taste of how communities have been inundated under President Joe Biden. Governor Abbott launched Texas's border bus mission back in April to bring President Biden's border crisis to his backyard in Washington, D.C., and to help Texas border communities that are being overrun as the federal government dumps migrants in their towns, Abbott spokeswoman Renee E. said in a statement to the Washington Examiner. Now, D.C. is experiencing just a fraction of the humanitarian crisis overwhelming our border communities and our state every single day, East continued. With our nation's capital finally feeling the pressure of President Biden's reckless open border policies, it's time he does his job and secures the border. Since mid-April, more than 125 buses have transported 4,800 migrants from Texas border communities, such as the Rio Grande Valley, Del Rio, Uvalde, and Eagle Pass, nearly 2,000 miles to Washington. Governor Doug Ducey, Republican Arizona, commenced a similar initiative in mid-May and has had 27 buses carrying more than 1,000 passengers from the border to D.C. in that time, according to spokeswoman Morgan Carr. The Texas Department of Emergency Management is running the bus operation as a natural disaster evacuation, asking passengers to sign a waiver agreeing to transport them to Washington at no cost and with non-perishable meals provided on board. The action TDEM has taken to facilitate bus transportation for migrants to D.C. came at the direction of Governor Abbott following requests from local officials whose border communities are overwhelmed by the mass release of migrants by the federal government in Texas, wrote Seth Christensen, TDEM Chief of Media and Communications, in an email Friday. The $6.8 million cost includes invoices that TDEM has received to date and is expected to rise as invoices continue to roll in. The bus drop-off response has fallen on the shoulders of volunteers. A coalition of 20 community organizations in Washington, Maryland, and Virginia known as the Migrant Solidarity Mutual Aid Network has been on site on Capitol Hill to meet arriving buses for most of the 3 months. Last week, Sanctuary DMV leader Mafi Ball said the group was taking its first 2-day break due to a coronavirus exposure and in protest of the unsustainable conditions created by the lack of government response. The organization said they have spent $260,000 of grassroots-raised money and are out of funding, though Sanctuary DMV did not respond to requests for comment. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has reimbursed millions of dollars of expenses for nonprofits that assist migrants nationwide over the past year. Washington politicians are now echoing the same complaints that border state governors, mayors, and county commissioners have made the past year, that they cannot handle the influx of people being released into their communities daily. The majority of the District of Columbia's heavily Democratic City Council sent Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser a letter Thursday urging her to send in district resources and ask the federal government for assistance to handle the roughly 100 people arriving per day into the metropolitan region. Some migrants need permanent and temporary housing, money, food, clothing, directions, and planning assistance, which volunteers are unable to sustain. After 3 months with no direct support from the district government, they are burned out and overwhelmed, the 10 D.C. council members wrote. With the number of buses arriving every day increasing rapidly, we encourage you to mobilize your administration to coordinate with other jurisdictions in the region to step in and assist with the response. Bowser acknowledged Sunday the buses of migrants are creating a very significant issue for D.C. and urged the federal government to initiate a coordinated federal response to assist communities. I fear that they're being tricked into nationwide bus trips when their final destinations are places all over the United States of America, Bowser told CBS Face the Nation. Texas has borne the brunt of illegal immigration at the southern border since Biden took office. Well, over half of all migrants encountered trying to enter the U.S. have been stopped in Texas. Because thousands of migrants are released and permitted to travel anywhere in the country each day, regional airports and bus lines are overwhelmed. For example, the sole nonprofit group assisting migrants in the Arizona border city of Yuma has begun transporting people to airports across state lines due to a shortage of flights in Yuma and Phoenix. The buses from Arizona and Texas are free of charge to migrants and taxpayer funded, though Texas is accepting public donations to offset costs. They serve as a means of easing the transportation burden on Texas towns and nonprofit organizations that are overwhelmed as several thousand migrants are released into the country daily. Some Republicans, including former senior Homeland Security official from the Trump administration, Ken Cuccinelli, have criticized the busing operation. Busing illegals to D.C. is nice showmanship, but nothing here will change the illegal flow into Texas, Cuccinelli, senior fellow for the Conservative Center for Renewing America, said in a statement in April. At present, 7,000 people are being stopped while illegally entering the country daily. Jed Johnson, Homeland Security Secretary during the Obama administration, once described 1,000 apprehensions per day as being at a crisis level.
Getting bored? Want to enjoy some relaxing music? Do you need to get updated with all the latest news but don't have enough time to watch TV for hours? Or do you need to get your praise and worship on? We have your solution to your problem. SAVEDnewsRadio.com got everything you need. Listen to SAVEDnewsRadio.com, filled with praise and worship 24/7, everywhere, in your home, laptop, or tablet, on your phone, in your car, and on Alexa. Install the Save News Radio skill on Alexa, and then just say, "Alexa, launch Save News Radio." The beautiful, uplifting sounds of praise and worship music, ministries, news, and more. SaveNewsRadio.com, created to glorify God and edify the body of Christ.
D.C. homeless shelters are filling up with migrants from Arizona, and Texas Mayor Muriel Bowser claims. Caitlin Corral, U.S. political reporter for DailyMail.com. Washington, D.C.'s homeless shelters are filling up because Texas Governor Greg Abbott is sending busloads of migrants from his state to the nation's capital, Mayor Muriel Bowser claimed Sunday morning. The D.C. mayor is requesting that Abbott stop preventing migrants from getting to their final destinations. Arizona's Governor Doug Ducey followed Abbott's lead earlier this summer as they both started sending migrants from their respective states to D.C. to take some of the load off of the migration crisis hitting border states. Due to this initiative, homeless shelters in the nation's capital are starting to cap out with these asylum seekers. Well, this is a very significant issue, Bowser told CBS News Sunday morning program Face the Nation. We have for sure called on the federal government to work across state lines to prevent people from really being tricked into getting on buses. I fear that they're being tricked into nationwide bus trips when their final destinations are places all over the United States of America, she added. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser blasts Texas and Arizona GOP governors for sending migrants by the busload to the nation's capital, claiming they are to blame for the boost in overcrowded homeless shelters. Bowser said that the people arriving in her city on these buses are largely asylum seekers who are going to final destinations that are not Washington, D.C. Since April, Texas and Arizona have sent a combined 4,000 migrants to the district, with officials in both states claiming that migrants voluntarily agreed to take the bus trip north. It now appears, however, that those participating in the trips may have been under the impression that they would have a final destination other than D.C. One asylum seeker mother of two from Venezuela told WUSA 9 on Thursday that she was told in Texas that she and her family would be sent to Colorado after they arrive in the nation's capital, which never happened. Another mother of 3 said a Texas official told her that someone in D.C. would provide her family transport to Chicago. But it was all a lie, she said. While it's unclear who is promising this assistance to bus passengers, nonprofits in the district claim they have heard similar stories from those posted up outside Union Station. Bowser assured that D.C. taxpayers are not picking up the tab for the increased homeless population with the migrants from Texas and Arizona. The latest comes as migration figures for June were released. The drop to 207,416 encounters with Customs and Border Protection, CBP, comes after 4 straight months of increases through the spring, with the highest ever in May with 240,991. President Joe Biden has seen record-high migration numbers under his administration's policies, which progressive Democrats claim are too tough and Republicans claim are much too lax and leading to the crisis.
Getting bored? Want to enjoy some relaxing music? Do you need to get updated with all the latest news but don't have enough time to watch TV for hours? Or do you need to get your praise and worship on? We have your solution to your problem. SAVEDnewsRadio.com got everything you need. Listen to SAVEDnewsRadio.com, filled with praise and worship 24/7, everywhere, in your home, laptop or tablet, on your phone, in your car, and on Alexa. Install the Save News Radio skill on Alexa and then just say, "Alexa, launch Save News Radio." The beautiful, uplifting sounds of praise and worship music, ministries, news, and more. SaveNewsRadio.com, created to glorify God and edify the body of Christ.